Hi, welcome to a new video class. Here we are going to discuss the topic single cell protein, that is SCP. SCP means single cell protein. So first of all, we want to study what is SCP, single cell protein. Single cell protein is an alternate form of a protein. That protein is produced by single cell organism or multicellular organism showing microscopic property. Actually, the significance of this single cell protein is that humans are traditionally depending various kinds of plants and animals as a source of food. Even though they are taking food, most of the humans are suffering from hidden hunger or malnutrition. Even though they are taking food, that food lacks sufficient amount of proteins and other required components. So in order to overcome the malnutrition or hidden hunger, we are depending an alternate source of protein, that is single cell protein. That is the significance of single cell protein. And one more thing is that we can easily able to produce such kind of single cell protein by a limited amount of space and by using less expense. That is why present humans mainly depending the single cell protein as a source of energy or as a source of protein. And when we move into the examples of single cell protein, we can depend different kinds of algae, different kinds of bacteria, fungi for the production of single cell protein. When we take the case of single cell protein, some single cell protein can able to intake or eat as such. Whereas in some other cases, it must be processed into a definite shape or definite nature, that is, it must be converted into flakes, or it must be converted into powders, or it must be converted into dried mass, something like that. We can use single cell protein in different way, either in the form of a live organism or in the form of a dried processed materials. So in order to avoid such kind of malnutrition, we are depending single cell protein. Let us take an example of algae. We know that a spirulina. Spirulina is actually a blue-green algae containing blue-colored pigment 5-cyanine and few amount of red-colored pigment 5-erythrin, and it also contains chlorophyll. By using photosynthetic capacity of this spirulina blue-green algae, it can able to prepare food. That prepared food can be stored in the form of a protein. That protein is the rich source of energy. We know that when we take the amphibolic pathway or catabolic pathway of energy metabolism, we can see proteins are one of the richest source of energy than carbohydrate. By using that protein, we can able to prepare protein powders, protein tablet, something like that. And this protein is not at all as an energy source for human, but we can also give on to animals also. For example, when we take the spirulina flakes, we can get the flakes or powders of spirulina in market. That spirulina flakes are used for the cultivation of ornamental fishes, because that contain a lot of energy. That's why, and its cost is also high. So it is highly its economical value is very high. So normally these single cell proteins are given to pet birds, animals, like cattle industry, poultry farm industry, dairy farm industry, and also ornamental fish industry. Everything, this protein flakes are used as a source of energy. So single cell protein plays a crucial role in the economy. Like that, when we take the case of chlorella, we know that chlorella is a unicellular algae. So here both the spirulina and the chlorella is a microscopic organism come under the category of algae. Chlorella. And that chlorella, we know that chlorella is a unicellular organism that lacks flagella and that shows high multiplication capacity. That's why we can able to cultivate more amount of chlorella and spirulina by using small area and by using limited amount of expense or limited expense. When we take the case of bacteria, bacteria can also able to produce proteins. For example, when we take the case of Pseudomonas fluorescens, like that lactobacillus, we are familiar with the lactobacillus that is mainly responsible for converting milk into curd, and Bacillus megachidium, and like that Methylophilus methylotrophus, Methylophilus methylotrophus, Methylophilus methylotrophus. These are all the bacteria which can be used as a source of protein production. And like that, when we take the case of fungi, we can see different kinds of fungi are used for the protein production. People can act as a source of protein, even though algae and bacteria contain different categories of element. Among these, protein act as a major component, and also if we take such kind of product, we can also get other kind of essential element also from this food. When we take the case of fungi, we can see Aspergillus, different species of Aspergillus niger, Aspergillus irrigatus, and the Rhizopus species and Agaricus species. That Agaricus species are popularly known as mushroom. We can see milky mushroom, button mushroom, oyster mushroom. There are different categories of mushroom which can be used as a food, and also that food contains rich amount of proteins. Like that, among these fungi we can see yeast. Actually, yeast is a unicellular fungus, and among this we can see different species of yeast. One is called Saccharomyces cerevisiae. They are mainly responsible for converting glucose into ethanol. Saccharomyces cerevisiae. That can be act as a source of single cell protein, and like that Candida utilis. We can see another species, Candida utilis. Like that, we can see another species of Candida, that is Candida tropicalis. Candida tropicalis. These are all the few examples of single cell protein. And next, let us try to understand what are the advantages of this single cell protein. The main advantages of single cell protein is that we can able to produce more amount of protein within a short duration of time. Suppose if you take the case of spirulina species, we can able to obtain the spirulina protein within 5 to 6 days of cultivation. If we start to cultivate a spirulina in a tank, after 6 to 7 days, we can get that spirulina. We can obtain its product. So we can able to produce large amount of protein within a short duration of time. And like that, its production cost is very low. Suppose if we cultivate the spirulina species, we can obtain the product within 1 week. Suppose if we rear a cow or buffalo, we can able to give lot of fodder, lot of expense to rear that animal, and after that only we will get sufficient amount of milk. But when we compare the cow and when we compare the cow and spirulina, our production cost, our expense is very low in case of spirulina, but when we case the case of macroorganism like cow, our expense is very high. So it is better to depend such kind of single cell protein for the production of energy. So that is the second advantage of single cell protein. Okay. So one more thing about the single cell protein is that we can reduce the amount of pollutant in nature. Suppose most of the microorganisms need only a liquid medium to culture. Suppose we can able to cultivate in a potato extract. Like for example, in case of agaricus species, we can able to cultivate that agaricus species with on a paddy straw. So we don't depend such kind of cost or high expense material to cultivate such kind of organism. That's why. And also one more thing, some species of agaricus can be able to cultivate on a paper. Okay, like that we can able to cultivate all the species with less expense. We can produce more amount within a short duration of time, and we can also reduce the pollution, especially water pollution, something like that, by depending such kind of cultivation. Because some organism can able to cultivate in a wastewater, so that we can able to use that wastewater efficiently for the production of such kind of living organism. And among these, we need to study the detailed cultivation of spirulina species and chlorella species. So when we take the case of spirulina species, we need certain requirements. One is called, we need a proper space for the cultivation of spirulina. For that, we can use tanks, which may be either in the form of a concrete tank or any other plastic tank. We can use tank. And second thing, we need proper water. And third, we require all the required essential elements for the culturing of spirulina. We know that spirulina usually grow in an alkaline condition. And third one, we want an agitator system. Okay, to rotate the medium. And fourth one, we need a pH measuring device. It may be simply it may be simply a litmus paper, or we can also depend a pH electrode, something like that, pH meter. Okay, and one more thing, we need a cloth or sieve for collecting the spirulina species, and we need some devices to make it in powders. Like that, we need certain requirements in order to cultivate spirulina species. All those details regarding the spirulina cultivation and chlorella cultivation will be discussed during the next video session. Now let us stop here. Okay, thank you.